Hey everyone, this is Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we are going to take a look at Venus making an opposition to Pluto. This really is the transit that is at the heart of this week's astrology. Venus is going through a number of aspects this week, but this one's really at the center. And we took a look at all of the Venus aspects yesterday. I'll be reviewing them briefly today, but if you want more coverage on the sort of total movement of Venus throughout the week, look at yesterday's episode that started the week off. We did a list of things to watch for given all of the archetypal dynamics that Venus is encountering this week. Today, we're going to focus on Venus Pluto. We're going to look at 5 things to watch for within those 4 angular houses: internal, psychological, relational, work, public, career, private, home, family. And hopefully this will help us really help us see and sort of work with or have a more meaningful encounter with the Venus Pluto opposition this week. So anyway, that's our agenda for today. Before we get into it, as always, remember to like and subscribe. It's our goal to get to 100,000 subscribers on the channel by next summer. I think we can get there, but it means that when you listen to this channel regularly, if you're not yet subscribed, click the subscribe button. It helps us grow tremendously. Give us that little thumbs up every day. Drop a comment into the comment section. All of that helps us grow as an astrological channel and community. You can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on the website every day. That's nightlightastrology.com. Promotion for the month of August is really our upcoming retreat, which is in June of 2026. Go to the events page, click on Immersive Retreat. You're going to see the Oracle Within, a training in the theory and practice of divinatory astrology. This is a totally unique training program and only going to be offered once yearly. Hopefully we'll do it once a year going forward. That's the goal right now. This will be our first one next June. And we're about halfway full as I'm making this, and we're only in our second week of promoting it. So spaces are filling up fast. At the end of today's video, there is an informational video that's tagged on to tell you more about the retreat, what we'll be doing, the format of the retreat, what it includes, how to register. The video is also on the website on that page, the Immersive Retreat page. You can also find it under the courses page, the Oracle Within. So that's something that you can check out again at the end today. Enrollment for our first year program begins again in November. So if you want to join us for our first year program, that's really the best place to start with all of what our school has to offer. This is our first year program in ancient Hellenistic astrology. We will start advertising and promoting that again in September. So that's it for today. Promotion wise, let's turn our attention to the real-time clock and take a look. Here we are. And what I want to focus on is Tuesday, August 26th, Venus is opposing Pluto. Now, remember that the week yesterday, we started off by looking at everything that Venus is doing in totality and giving a list of things to watch for, given, again, everything sort of happening like more holistically. So you can see Venus enters Leo, trines Saturn, trines Neptune, sextiles Uranus, and opposes Pluto. So today, we're seeing the sextile perfecting between Venus and Uranus, almost simultaneous to the opposition to Pluto. If you want coverage on all of those dynamics, again, be sure to watch yesterday's video. I give you 5 things to watch for in summary. Today, I want to focus on Venus and Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius, as every Venus-Pluto opposition that we ever encounter tends to be one of the bigger, more substantive transits of our years. We typically have, one a year. So this is a very powerful transit, and one that often will correspond to spikes in viewership of content for a lot of astrologers, not just myself. And I think that's because relationships, love, sex, desire, beauty, friendship, any kind of relationship, for most of us is an incredibly important part of our lives. And the contact with Pluto provides powerful transformation within that relational sphere of life. And so naturally, if I had to say, at least half of the people who have ever come to me for a reading wanted to talk about love or relationships or marriage or the patterns therein or what's lacking or whatever, it makes sense that people would naturally be really interested in Venus-Pluto dynamics, the squares, the oppositions, the conjunctions being the loudest dynamics typically, and the loudest insofar as they provide stress tests for relationships. inflection points of growth, change, death, and rebirth. Two words I don't love, as you guys know, but they're good words to describe what happens with Venus and Pluto when they oppose. So what we're going to do today is look at this in terms of those four major areas of life that are derived from the birth chart. The first house, the place that has to do with the interior, the psychological, the physical, the maybe the level of health, vitality, appearance in the body, but also psychological. And it's really the house of character in a way. We're talking about that as the internal psychological sphere that's correlated with the first house. We're going to give you 5 things to watch for with Venus, Pluto there. We're going to talk about love and relationships, the natural opposite 7th house, place of desire, sex, intimacy, love. We're going to talk about career and work, which is the 10th house sphere of life, the public, your professional or vocational interests or pursuits, and then family dynamics or private internal home life, and maybe a less visible sphere of life, more private in general, but also often connected to ancestors, family, living environment. So let's get right into it. When Venus opposes Pluto, remember that Venus in an opposition, any kind of opposition in astrology, is thought to be of the nature of Saturn. What does that mean? It means we think frequently about Saturn as a planet of limits, but what a limit often designated for ancient mystics was a barrier or boundary or a natural separation between two things. Because Saturn sits at the edge of the visible cosmos, everything within its bounds and everything outside of its bounds have a tension that exists between each other: the archetypal, the ideal, the abstract, and the material, the embodied, the real. The realm of the gods and the archetypes and the forms, and the realm of their embodied living beingness in the material matrix that we call life. That opposition was fundamental to the entire mystical framework of ancient astrology. And so when we think of Saturn as the lord of opposition, what we're really talking about is that sacred sense of dyads and dualities, spirit and matter, body and soul, heaven and earth. And Saturn will frequently bring up what feels like a split or a hard sense of opposition between two things that can't meet, or they're irreconcilably different. However, we know that because Saturn is also thought of as a planet of mystics and mysticism, the reason for that being that all sacred dyads share a secret kind of sameness or oneness. And so everything that looks like it's opposed shares this kind of underlying unity. And so wherever there are oppositions, I mention a stress test in relationships. What we're really talking about are oppositional tensions that appear within certain spheres of life. These 4 we're going to explore today. And through their appearance, they provide an opportunity to hold a kind of unity of consciousness at a deeper level because of the fundamental tension of opposites that present themselves. So that's our project, is to figure out what those oppositional tensions may look like between Venus and Pluto, and how those tensions can either pull things apart or create healing or change or opportunities for growth, or how they may just literally describe the unfolding of circumstances and events in our lives right now as a matter of fate or destiny, however you want to think about it. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the internal psychological sphere and what a Venus-Pluto opposition may look like here. So I've got 5 things here, and then we'll move through every other sphere of life. The shadows of desire, let's call them. When our desires are unexplored, they often appear in ways that are problematic. When we repress them, they come out like monsters. When we try to shove them away, they break the door down. At the same time, if we let them run rampant and we don't provide any check for our desires, they can ruin our lives. So holding the tension between the creative, regenerative, deep, restorative power of our desires and allowing them to be what they are, but also not letting them take over somehow and ruin things, that's a tension between Venus and Pluto that can show up in our lives on an internal psychological level. How am I dealing with my desires? The other one would be um, anything that comes up with respect to power and control issues arising internally. How much power do I have? How much should I have? How much control do I have? Where do I lack control? As a matter of self examination, self reflection, self development, Venus Pluto can speak to reviewing or reflecting my sense of power or control, obviously within a relational reality, but the exploration of whether I feel empowered or disempowered, in control or completely out of control, can come up as a matter of personal. I don't feel like I have as much authority, power, or control as I ought to, or maybe I'm getting some feedback that I need to tone things down and create more space for others because I'm being overpowering or domineering or too controlling. So there's a relational level that we can't deny, even on the internal side of this dynamic, because it's Venus. But there may be a pretty deep level of self reflection with respect to character development and issues of control or power. The other thing that can come up is a transformation of aesthetic. There's soul aesthetic, there's psychological aesthetic, there's physical, material aesthetic, my body, my clothing, the shape and appearance of my soul through my personality. Am I appearing in the world in a way that feels creatively authentic, from the clothes I wear to the physique that I have, or whatever. What can I do to transform my body, myself, my appearance, my presence as an aesthetic being, as a being of beauty, as a being that reflects values, tastes, desires, longings in the way that I present myself? Now, translate that into, for one person, this could mean, the decision to get a facelift. I don't know. It doesn't have to be, it's not always so psychological. It can be very physical, is the point. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get on a weight loss drug, whatever. I think another way that this can show up, number 4, would be through obsession, explorations of what we get obsessed with or possessed by personally. Things possess us, or we try to possess things, or we obsess over things. I don't think we're fully alive unless we aren't from time to time captured by obsession, just complete fixation and attachment. Because there's a passionate, romantic, loving loss of identity that Venus and Pluto can suggest. When you just fall madly in love with something or someone, it's not all bad. It's not bad to lose yourself. Sometimes you have to lose yourself to find yourself. Sometimes getting lost in love is the best way to come back to something true about who you are. But contemplating possession and obsession. And then number 5 to me would be maybe heightened awareness of certain hidden or subtle social dynamics within yourself or others. Just an ability to see more of the unconscious layers of things in and through social situations or relationships, looking for that hidden, secret, subtle, subconscious, unconscious subtext and being more aware of it. Maybe something occurs because of that awareness. So to me, these are the internal psychological things to watch for. Let's move into love and relationships. Think about 5 things to watch for here, and they're not so totally different from the self and internal psychological sphere because we are talking about Venus after all. I would say surprisingly powerful explorations of what we like and don't like, what we're attracted to or repulsed by. That's number 1. Very simple. Just what do I like? What don't I like? As heightened and very important for this period of time. This lasts through the end of the week, really. I was talking about power and control issues internally, but they can also appear in relationships where entanglement, power issues, power struggles take place in relationships. Revelation of unconscious hidden material and the importance of having almost like a secretive dimension. That's going to be actually, that's part of my fifth one. I'll come back to it. So I would just say revelation of hidden or unconscious material in relationships. Number 4 would be crises in relationship that provide for points of death or healing. Death meaning the relationship is over, healing meaning, hey, this crisis actually facilitates the deepening of our bond and maybe some level of healing personally and relationally. And then finally, this is number 5, and this is where the secret part comes in. I think there's a potential to project fears and desires that we ourselves haven't dealt with. So that would be one thing to watch for. But the other side of this is having a space, having little spaces that nobody else sees, maybe not even other people, maybe it's just for us, that have to do with desires that our relationships can't hold space for. I don't know one relationship that exists ever. Speaking to so many people, reflecting on my own life, not every relationship can provide. Another person cannot provide us with every last thing we desire, every wish, every hope, every fantasy, every yearning. And so that can either drive us mad, or we can find, I want to call them like secret, imaginative, private dimensions of our desires that are healthy, that aren't destructive, that can exist. It's like everyone needs a little private room in their house. You know, when I was growing up, my dad always had like a private study, and it's just like his little room he would read in. And I think we all have this. You know, we all have to take time apart from our relationships, maybe coexisting in the same room, but I'm reading a book, you're reading a book, you know, or you know, you're making a piece of art, I'm playing my guitar. There has to be spaces that are created in relationships to facilitate those deeper, darker, more hidden parts of ourselves that if we constantly suppress or repress, well, that's eventually going to be really problematic for our relationship, because we think to ourselves, well, because the person I'm with can't provide this thing that I really want, then I'm going to suppress that part of myself because I fear that it could destroy the relationship. It's natural. It's understandable that people would do that, right? But I think anything with Venus Pluto typically says, be careful of doing that, because anything you repress or suppress out of fear that it will destroy something actually gets stronger and more destructive. Find a healthy outlet for things that exist that maybe there isn't room for in your relationship, but you can find a healthy way of accessing something psychologically valuable about that. Hope that makes sense. There are ways of getting our needs met that don't have to destroy each other or a relationship. And sometimes we won't go for those things because we're so sure that there's only one way that a desire could play out, and its only way to play out will be to destroy a friendship, to destroy a marriage, to destroy a bond. So getting creative about how we explore desires and unmet needs or desires, I think that's a great Venus-Pluto dynamic. So, okay, let's move on to career or work. 5 things to watch for. Well, not surprisingly, I would look for power plays, power dynamics, power struggles in the workplace with coworkers or bosses or employees. That's number 1. 2 would be the potential for very powerful, interesting, mutually beneficial partnerships or creative collaborations. I love that. The shadow of which could be I use you, you use me. It's maybe a little opportunistic. Be careful of the shadows of social and professional opportunism. I would wonder about reputation and scandal. This is the kind of thing where, you know, sexual assault in the workplace is very Venus-Pluto in terms of a workplace manifestation. Not that I'm saying that's going to happen, but you have to watch for things around sex, love, relationship dynamics, the shadows of those dynamics within the workplace. I feel like Venus-Pluto must get HR departments busy. But anyway, that's number 3. Number 4 would be any kind of regenerative or transformative creative impulse that wants to find an outlet within the career. Hey, I'm feeling a little stagnant. Let's get creative again. Just the release of pent up creative energy in a career or work related space. And then finally would be uh, ideological tensions. That would be one, like Venus opposite Pluto can pit personal things against collective things. Like, well, an awareness of public image or public perception versus a more personal human level of things. And sometimes they get together, sometimes they're not on the same page. Any kinds of conflicts between real substance and how things look or appear in some more superficial way, like how will this be judged versus how does this actually make me feel. Pluto and Aquarius can have that kind of large, objective, rational, detached way of judging and evaluating, whereas Venus and Leo is very personal, very subjective. So I would watch for clashes between those things showing up in the workplace somehow. And then finally, when it comes to family dynamics, this would be home, family, living environment, anything surrounding, you know, if there are things hidden within the family psyche or story or background that are being revealed or emerging, family secrets, family confessions, things like that. Number two would be anything involving major transformative events in family relationships, your sister's marriage, your parents' divorce. So when relational dynamics are somehow at the center of your larger, broader family constellation for a period of time, that would be fitting for this. Obviously, there can be some overlap between themes of home, family, and marriage and the relationship sphere of life too. So keep that in mind. The other one would be anything involving inheritance or the gifts and blessings and riches of family. Venus, Pluto in the home and family sphere can be about resources, abundance, wealth, transformations of power and wealth in the family, sometimes greed. I would also wonder about how safe you're feeling based on the quality, depth, reality of the relationships that surround you in the home space. And then I would think about the cyclical nature of building foundations, developing them. Sometimes they come apart or there's a crack in a foundation and there's a need to rebuild trust, depth, intimacy, connection, love. So the turning of the soil around home and family with respect to those themes. All of this comes to mind. Powerful transit this week. I hope that this gave you some good things to consider. Remember that the tensions that come up right now, if we sit with them rather than react, if we stay curious rather than trying to solve, it's like that old thing in a relationship. When I come to you with a problem, I want you to listen, not offer me a solution. Same thing is true for transits. If we think about them not as things to decode, to solve, to fix, to immediately remediate, to use to get something, but we just stay present and accepting and welcoming and curious. We talk to the experience, so to speak. We reflect on it. We meditate on it. I'm always amazed by the creative directions that can open from taking that path, as opposed to a lot of quick fix reactivity that just doesn't do it for me. Anyway, not that I have anything figured out. All of you dear people, I know you're like me. You don't have anything figured out either. So we have, I'm probably going to do, I think I'm going to do some horoscopes tomorrow on Venus opposite Pluto because it'll be sort of resonating throughout the week. And then Thursday and Friday, we have our overview of the astrology for September and our horoscopes for September with the teams. So that's what's coming up. Hope you're having a good day. Stick around after I sign off right now to learn more about the Oracle within the retreat that we're taking to Mexico next June. I hope to see some of you there. Early bird is on sale and its early bird rate is there until October. So still some time to take advantage of it. All right. See you later. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm really excited to tell you more about the Oracle Within, the retreat that we'll be hosting in Mexico in June of 2026. So this is a little informational video that I've made to answer all the questions that you might have about the retreat. In this video, I'm going to start by telling you more about what you will learn on the retreat, what the focus of our studies will be, and then I'm going to tell you about our daily format and sort of what day-to-day life will look like at this retreat center outside of the actual material we'll be studying. I'm going to then tell you who this retreat is ideal for, what kind of background you may want to have before coming along. And then finally, I'm going to tell you more about how you can register. And of course, I'll take you over to the actual retreat website page so that you know where all of the information is located. There's also a really rich FAQ section that will probably answer any further questions you may have. On that note, let's start with what will I learn? So for a very long time, astrologers have talked about what astrology is. What is this? Is it some kind of karmic science? Is it a science of causal energies and influences? Is this actually scientific? Like, what order of knowing is astrology? If we say we can know something about reality, then how can we actually say that when it comes to astrology? These may seem like really deep, dense philosophical issues, but actually they're at the heart of what it means to really deepen into astrology. To have an understanding of what this actually is so fundamental and so helpful. Throughout all of the programs that I teach at Nightlight, I of course talk at length about my belief that astrology is a form of divination, that this is a language of signs and omens, very much like the tarot or the I Ching or many other systems of symbolic divination from all around the planet. We're going to spend a lot of time on this retreat talking about what astrology is. From a historical and philosophical perspective, what is divination? What is divination, not just in this tradition, but all over the planet? What kind of things does a divinatory view of the cosmos assume about the nature of reality, about the nature of the soul, and what we're actually doing as practitioners when we practice astrology or when we study it or when we use it for ourselves? So one of the teachers that I had that made a huge impact on me, and 12 years ago when Jupiter was last in Cancer, I hosted him for a retreat on astrology as a form of divination, is Jeffrey Cornelius. He wrote this book called The Moment of Astrology, Origins in Divination, which is, in my opinion, one of the best books on astrology ever written. This will be something like a preparatory textbook that a lot of students on the retreat I'll recommend read before you come to this course. Over the program for the course of a full week, in the mornings, we're going to be talking about the history, the metaphysics, the philosophy, the ancient mystics, and what they said about the nature of astrology itself. So we're going to think really deeply about what is astrology. Then in the afternoons, we're going to talk about how to connect with an oracle. Connecting with an oracle, connecting with astrology as a divinatory system, in other words, is about the marriage of intuition and being able to listen to the oracle speak while also utilizing the logic of craft. How do you marry those two things together? It's not something we take a lot of deliberate time to talk about as astrologers. So in the mornings, we're talking about history, philosophy, theory of astrology. In the afternoons, we're going to be talking about how to actually develop a living, vibrant relationship with an oracle so that it's informing how you approach the craft of a reading or how you approach the craft of astrology itself, if it's something that you maybe just use only for you in your own spiritual path. Either way, practitioners, hobby students are all welcome. So a lot of hands-on immersive work with charts, with live clients, with different systems of divination, and talking a lot about how to connect with an oracle experientially in our afternoons, where our mornings will be devoted to theory. It's about 30 to 40 hours worth of content that we'll be doing over the course of a week together, which means this is effectively like one of my advanced training programs condensed into a week. It's brand new material, brand new curriculum, doesn't appear anywhere else in the Nightlight programs, and yet everything that this program includes is really a condensation of the underlying philosophy of astrology itself that is a part of all of the Nightlight programs and all of my work as a whole. And again, most of that was deeply inspired by the work of Jeffrey Cornelius, who's I consider him something of a mentor in my life. So that's a bit about what you will learn. If you have questions about what you will learn, you can feel free to email me for more details, info@nightlightastrology.com. Now, I want to talk about the format of the retreat. You're on this retreat. First of all, you're in a beautiful sort of jungle beach location near Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, for a week, which means we every day will not just be about theory and experiential, immersive, oracular work, which I'm very excited about. I have a ton of really good curriculum written for us as a group to go through. But in the mornings, we're going to have the option of starting your morning with breath work, yoga, meditation. In the evenings, we'll probably cap our days off with a little bit of centering as well. So my wife, Ashley, who I ran a yoga studio with for a decade, will be with me leading daily meditation and yoga. She is an incredibly good yoga teacher, very grounded and very, wherever your level is at, there'll be something there for you. And that's optional as well. So every day you have a little meditation and yoga. There's healthy food that serves people if you're vegan, vegetarian, or eat meat or whatever. There's options for food. There's a beach. There's a pool. There's some jungle hikes available. So our days will be broken into periods of free time, periods of rest, and periods of focused learning with things like meditation and yoga as options that are there for everyone. We'll also have some other meaningful group exercises that we'll do that will be, again, about how do you connect with an oracle? How do you make a conversation with the oracle a daily part of your life? So that's something of the format that you can look forward to in this beautiful kind of oceanside retreat setting. More information on the website. I'll show you that in a second. Who is this for? Ideally, you are someone who has a background in traditional Hellenistic astrology already. Wherever that comes from, if it's my courses or not, I want people coming to this retreat to have some pretty good solid background in Hellenistic astrology already. Or if you're from within our programs, then as long as you are enrolled in the year one program, you don't have to have finished it. You just need to be at least enrolled in it. Then you would be more than welcome. Any alumni from any of our programs would be welcome. And again, people who with some serious background in traditional astrology already, just because I don't want people to come along with maybe a modern background, but zero understanding of Hellenistic. So that would be who I would recommend this for. Spaces are limited and we anticipate the retreat will fill up rather quickly. So I really recommend registering as soon as you can. You also have the early bird rates to help you save. Finally, how do I register? I'm going to take you over to the website and you will find that here, the website, you can find it under the events page. Go to Immersive Retreat, or under the courses, it's our new course called The Oracle Within. When you scroll down, you're going to see everything that the program includes, basically everything I've gone over, maybe a little bit more details and depth there, as well as a little personal note for me that I wrote about why this means so much to me. You'll learn more about Mar de Jade, which is the beautiful retreat center. You can check it out. You're going to book through us. So you don't book through the retreat center, you book through us, and then we take care of it. At the bottom, you're going to find registration options that will be available starting on August 11th. That's today. Right now, as I'm looking at this, we don't have the prices listed yet. It's still kind of under construction. But at the bottom, you'll find different available options for registering. The different options will include different room options, and there's different. So if you want a private room versus maybe sharing a room with someone we'll assign you with that's part of the group, or maybe even a small group dorm room where there's like 5 people are sharing a room and you're comfortable being with other students on the trip, stuff like that. So there'll be some options there for everyone. There's an early bird rate that'll be in effect until October, saves you a little bit of money off the cost. And then also all of the different room options that are available at different price tiers depending on and they go first come first serve in terms of like, so there's some ocean view rooms. The people who book first will get the best. We just go best available first and just run it like that. So anyway, again, as you are looking over anything on the page, you have any questions, email us info@nightlightastrology.com. I hope that this has been helpful. I can't wait to have finally an immersive in-person training program in a beautiful location. It's nice to do things online, but I really love having in-person time available. And I know that you're going to also really enjoy working with Ashley. During the evenings throughout the week, Ashley will also have some little workshops that she'll be offering as options for people that are part of your retreat package that will be on plant spirit medicine topics and how to use different plant teachers to work with different astrological signatures in the chart. You got a difficult Mars, work with this plant. You got a challenged Venus, try this plant. So there's going to be some really fun little add-ons around plant spirit medicine that Ashley, if you know her on my channel, she talks about plants often, will also lead. So anyway, that's it. That's your informational video. I hope that this was useful. Hope to see some of you on the retreat in Mexico next year. Take it easy, everyone.